Welcome to Canada Files. I'm Valerie Pringle in Los Angeles. My guest today is Eugene Levy, the Grammy and Emmy-winning actor and writer. Over a remarkable 53-plus year career, he's created so many memorable roles in SCTV, movies like Best in Show and A Mighty Wind, and best known for co-creating and starring in the TV series Schitt's Creek. His son, Dan Levy, calls him an example of how to be a human being and an actor. Hi, Eugene.
Hello, Valerie.
Well, your amazing career just seems to have gotten better in your 70s. I mean, Schitt's Creek swept the Emmys in 2020. You've got a new travel show. Yeah. I mean, did you think this would be happening to you now?
No, I did not. No, I did not. You know, I've been plugging away for years and years and years, you know, kind of the go-to guy for, you know, getting the little comedy spot that, you know, you're in a few scenes in a movie, and that was good, and I loved it. You know, that's what I've been doing pretty much my whole life. And then my son comes up and says, "You want to work on an idea with me for a TV show?" And that was it, you know. So
Daniel approached you. Was it a big deal for him to come to you? And what did he say? And what did you say?
No, he just said, "Do you want to? I've got an idea for a show. Would you want to work on it with me?" And that had never happened before. Like, he wouldn't come to me for literally anything. So I said, no matter what this is, yes, I'll work on it with you, thinking, well, this is something I never thought would happen. And we started working on it. And then initially, I got frightened because I thought, well, wait a minute, what if he doesn't have it? What if he doesn't have it? What if he's not really not a great writer? What if he doesn't have the talent to do what it is we're about to do? Do we just continue working and not say anything, knowing nothing's going to happen with this, and what's the point? Or do I tell him, you know what, this is really not something you excel in, so maybe you should be looking at something else? But he just came right out of the gate, like just blowing me away. In every capacity, every writing, directing, producing, acting.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you couldn't have had any idea that it would turn out to be such a gift.
No. Just getting it on the air was something. I mean, we pitched it everywhere and just got turned down all over the place. And then somebody said, well, what about Canada? Have you thought about Canada? I went, no, but is that I guess that would be a good thing. Yeah, you should look into that. We did. Had a lot of interest. CBC, right, we'll give you whatever, 13 shows, and that was that. Getting it on the air was the thing. That was everything. So we started doing the show, and I kind of knew it was good, better than I ever thought it could possibly be when we were doing it. But would we get a second season? I don't know.
Second, third, fourth,
well, then
fifth,
one rolled into
sixth.
Another, and then that was great. Look what we have here, But it didn't really kind of explode until maybe the fourth, fifth season. And our last season was, of course, during COVID, and that's how people got to really see it.
Now, you say you're not a naturally funny person. People like, oh, Eugene Levy is a comedian, he's so funny. You say, no, there's a difference. I'm a comic actor. I'm an actor.
Yeah.
I'm not a comedian.
Yeah.
How do you explain the difference to people?
Well, the difference is I'm not comfortable being myself. And the closer a character came to being me, the more nervous and apprehensive I got. So my roles over the years have been characters where I can, put on hats and mustaches and glasses just to get
Two left
away
feet.
from, that's it, exactly, getting away from being myself. Because I just never found myself that interesting as a person. I mean, I know it sounds kind of sad, and I guess it is, but that was the case. So Schitt's Creek was a bit of it was a challenge for me because it was a character that is pretty close to me.
So I'm curious about, you grew up in Hamilton. When did you ever think that you would actually be a performer? When did that strike you as a possibility or something fun or interesting?
I loved doing it in school. Loved doing plays. And even going back to, public school, being in a class play I loved it. I loved putting on the rings and the crown and whatever it was, I mean, I really did love it. High school, I was in a couple of plays, Shakespearean plays, loved it. And when I got to McMaster, I was in my second year. First year Mac, I was going to class like everybody. Like that was, all right, that's good. Second year, I discovered drama and discovered the film club. Kind of stopped going to class, but was having a great time. I didn't know acting is what I wanted to do until it hit me in the face.
But you were, I guess, so attracted to it enough that you auditioned for Godspell, which was the big show in Toronto at the time, the musical that had come.
Yeah.
So you had enough sense of yourself that you could sing, you could perform on stage.
Yeah, I went out to audition for it. I did, and Marty Short was right. I was going to school with Marty as well. We'd done a lot of stuff at McMaster together as well. And when I auditioned for Godspell, I called Marty to say, Marty, you've got to come out and audition for this. It's like a musical. You'd be great for it. He was writing his finals at Mac at the time. And so then he came out to audition for it, and the two little
Careers
nibs from Hamilton got into the show.
And I've heard that Tom Hanks told Conan O'Brien once that if he could be a fly on the wall and go back anywhere and watch something, it would be the 1972 production of Godspell with you, Marty Short, Gilda Radner, Andrea Martin, Victor Garber. I saw that show. It was awesome. Paul Schaefer.
Yeah, it was an amazing production. It was a really funny. Vocals like unbelievable. The music was insane. With Victor, who's like, oh my God, and Marty, strong cast, very strong cast.
And from there, you went to Second City, which was like the school of comedy.
Well, the Second City was the greatest class for comedy. I mean, it taught you to always work at the top of your intelligence level, no matter what you're doing comedically, no matter how cheap, whatever it is, do it as smart as you can do it. It seems like, well, that seems like it's obvious, but it's not. People don't always work at the top of their intelligence level. But that was good. Never underestimate your audience. And always work for the scene.
And that sort of evolved into SCTV, which was, again, just, you look at that cast, what a gift that was, Emmy winning, like learning to be on camera and perform that way.
Yeah, well, they started SCTV because SNL had started in the year before, right? 75, SNL started, and Bernie Solins, who was running, had owned Second City, said, well, all the talent is going to SNL now. And so we all kind of came up with and hammered out this idea about a a television network where you get to parody the television shows of the day. And it was Bernie who actually said there should be a through line going through the show as well. You should have a through line, some storyline that weaves everything together. And so we came up with our station characters to work behind the scenes, and that's pretty much how, you know, SCTV got off the ground. And we were a local show when we started. It was just airing, I believe, in Toronto, our first year, and then around our second year or third, I can't remember, we got picked up for syndication, and it played in maybe 40 cities, 40 markets in the States.
Well, it was brilliant. And as I said, Emmy winning. You think of John Candy, my God, what a guy, eh?
Yeah.
What an actor. Spent time with him. Catherine O'Hara, that was the first time you'd worked with her.
Yeah.
I mean, could you love this woman more?
She's quite amazing, gifted and talented. I can't, if she was here, she'd be walking out of the room, because you can't compliment her when she's present. She won't stand for it.
Funny, all those, you know, and that was a time too, all these Canadians were huge stars in comedy, whether it was Mike Myers, Jim Carrey, Dan Aykroyd, you've mentioned, you know, that whole cast. What was that?
It was just the time. I mean, it was just the time and the place. Somebody referred to it as kind of, you know, the Paris in the 20s. Everybody was there at the same time, and they were incredibly talented. You know, John was
John Candy.
Amazing.
I know he just makes you weep, doesn't he, when you see him?
Yeah, just amazing. And Aykroyd was how his mind worked. I don't know. You know, I don't know. It was almost like a Robin Williams rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat-a going on in the brain, you know. Really fun to watch. And Valerie Bromfield and Gilda, Andrea Martin. It was incredible, you know. And then of course the Mike Myers and Jim Carrey's kind of rolled in, and Kids in the Hall. But back then, that's what it was. And we were very lucky. As I said before, we were lucky that these shows came to town. We were lucky that Second City came to town right then and there, because we were there.
How did the collaboration with Christopher Guest get going? And you guys sitting around thinking up, like, three, I think, of the greatest movies ever. Hilarious. Waiting for Guffman and Best in Show,
Yeah.
and Mighty Wind.
Well, I was at home in Toronto, and I get a phone call, and it's Chris Guest, and he said, "I'm working. I have an idea for a movie, and I'm wondering if you would want to come down and work on it with me, work on the script." And you know, my heart was kind of palpitating a little bit. He said, "I have a cabin, in the country up in Idaho, and we could work on it there." And now my heart's palpitating like even more. I could actually see it coming out of my shirt. And I said, "Wow, well that's sure, that's great." And I'm thinking in a millisecond, like, I love this guy. I think he's great. I don't know him. Being in a cabin, writing, you know, what's the worst that can happen? If it doesn't work, I just get back on the plane. I said, "Sure. Yeah, I'd love to, Chris." And I got there, and he met me at the airport, the little airport, and we basically met. And on the ride back to his cabin, we were, oh my God, I was in stitches. I was laughing. I had him laughing. It was just like an amazing thing. And then we get to the cabin, and that was And that was great.
And that was Waiting for Guffman.
That was Waiting for Guffman, yeah.
Yeah. But one of the total gifts to come out of those movies was A Mighty Wind, the song. I mean, you won a Grammy and you were up for Best Song at the Oscars. I mean,
Yeah.
you performed at the Oscars with Catherine O'Hara on stage.
Yeah, but the idea of singing at the Oscars as well was like when I was standing backstage with Catherine, and Jamie Lee Curtis was giving the introduction to the song. It then hit me, what are we doing here? What, I can't, I'm not a musician. And I look over to Catherine, who's at the other side of the stage, and she looked at me and she's going, here we go. And that's it. You go out there and every face you're looking at is the most famous face like in the world. That was an experience.
Now, you wrote after Schitt's Creek, I want to thank Daniel who took this fish out of water story and transformed it into a celebration of inclusivity, a castigation of homophobia, and a declaration of the power of love. I mean, you'd always played charming characters. Your humor is never mean, but this was different. This was a message. It was like you wanted to tell people stuff.
Well, Daniel did, I'd say, an amazing job on that show, because when he really developed and hit his peak as a writer and producer, he really kind of sculpted what that show was, By the time we reached our final season, it was, I have to credit him for what he was able to do. And what he was able to do in his storytelling was, in fact, that. We were presenting this town as an all-inclusive kind of town. You know what I mean? People didn't look at you because you were gay. People didn't look at you because you were Jewish. People didn't look at you because you were black. There was no commenting on any of that. And that made it disappear. And that was storytelling for what it was. It was a romantic story with two people was told as the romantic story. Whether it's a heterosexual romantic story or a homosexual romantic story, the story was the story, and that's how it was told.
Love is love is love.
That's pretty much it. Pretty much it.
And you had huge response to that, like a lot of letters and from people.
Well, it touched a nerve with a lot of people. There were a lot of letters that we got from kids, from gay kids who said, this show helped me come out with my family. A lot of them used the analogy that was in one of the scenes that Daniel had written, which was the wine scene, right? I kind of like red wine. I kind of like white wine. I kind of like, I used to drink a Chardonnay that used to be a rosé. I mean, that scene itself, the label doesn't matter. It's not about the label. And a lot of kids actually used that scene as a way to come out, and very helpful. We did that letter from the Mama Bears, the group of mothers of gay kids, was just an incredible letter signed by, I don't know how many thousand moms. It hit a chord.
Yeah. Are you most proud of your acting, your writing, or your singing?
Oh, well, not my singing. Not my singing. No, I wouldn't say that. I don't know. I mean, most proud. I can't honestly look at what I do and then use it in conjunction with the word proud. I think the fact that I'm still around, I think the fact that I've been able to make a living out of this, you know. I mean, I think that I know some very talented people. A lot of my friends are extremely talented, the most talented in the business. And I've quite honestly been the fact that I've been able to actually make a living out of this, you know, with a modicum of talent, but doing what it is I do and have been able to make a relatively good living out of it. You know, I'm proud of myself, I think, for that I was able to do it and have great fun along the way. Because in this business, honestly, if you're not having fun in this business, then you're really hanging with the wrong people. You're doing something's not right here. So it's been a great life, and you know, for that, I think I can pat myself on the back.
Now, not many people hit the pinnacle at the pinnacle. I mean, you could have just gone and played golf, but you took on a travel show, Reluctant Traveler, where you have to be yourself, which is what you never wanted to play. Why did you do that?
Well, I didn't really. I mean, luckily, the powers that be didn't listen to me, because I did my damnedest to talk myself out of it when I got the call. I said, okay, well, I'm not the guy for this, because I'm not, you know, it's not that I hate traveling, I just don't love traveling. And I'm not a chatty kind of guy. I don't have a great sense of adventure. I'm not the person for a travel show, so tell them that. And then they said, well, they want to talk to you anyway. They want to have a call. So I got to explain to them why I'm not the person for this show, and everything I was saying was getting laughs on the phone, because I was trying to keep it light and not make it a heavy conversation. And so that call ended, and I said, great, I made my point, and it was a nice light call. What I didn't know on the other end was the producer and the Apple executive called each other and said, that's the show. Because initially it was about hotels, called The Great Room with a View. And they said, that's the show. It's somebody who doesn't want to travel. So they called back and pitched that. And I said, okay, I get that. That I get. Nevertheless, it's still me. So the great thing about this show is what I had to overcome, and how kind of cathartic this show has been for me as a person, to be able to do what I think the
Reluctant
show
Traveler
actually needs, which is keeping it entertaining and kind of, you know, and it's me that's doing it.
There's a wonderful scene of you in Costa Rica doing forest therapy and shouting out at the trees what you're grateful for. And you say, your wife, Deb, your 2 kids, your brother, your sister, your family. You're grateful for your family. I feel like this is your strength, your family.
It's the most important thing in the world, family and friends. And my wife, Deb, well, you know Deb. Yeah. She's without question the funniest person in the family. We all know that. Everybody knows that.
She is.
And what she's done, and you know, my kids, getting a chance to work with both Daniel and Sarah on a show for 6 years, on a weekly show, being on camera with my own kids is an experience that I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I've got it. Might not ever happen again, but you know, that's something not every parent can actually say. They got a chance to work with their kids for 6 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The one question we ask at the end of these shows is, what does being Canadian mean to you?
Well, being Canadian to me is, you know, I always consider myself as a person who would rather be in the back of the crowd watching somebody who loves being in the front of the crowd as being Canadian. That's almost the definition of Canadiana to me. Don't put yourself out there. You know, don't. It's not, hey, look at me, look at me. That's not. That's really not what it is. It's about kind of doing it, making sure you're doing a good job, do it right, and everything will kind of take care of itself. So that's feeling Canadian every single day, no question about it. Because you know what, just not too much of a spotlight. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Eugene. What a treat.
My pleasure. This was fun.
And we'll be back next week with another edition of Canada Files.
The preceding program was made possible through the generous support of Richard Wernham and Julia West, as well as the following donors: Ted and Alice Kernahan, the Browning Watt Foundation, Mary Davey, David and Cheryl Carr, Jim and Sandra Pitbledo, Tony and Sherry Fell, Bryce and Nikki Douglas, Charles and Marilyn Bailey, Michael McCain and family, Richard Pilasoff, Clench House Foundation, Kathy and George Dombrowski, the 63 Foundation, and by the Central Canadian Public Television Association.